seems those of our ancestors who perished during the genocide perpetrated by the German nation's spirits are also being awakened by what is transpiring in this blood-soiled land. I asked our special envoy to the Germans on the issue of reparations and former ambassador Dr. Zen Gavirwe to explain just what transpired during those years and to explain where we're at with the negotiations.
Well, what you need to know is that this country was colonized under the pretext of a German protectorate. And it was sheer colonialism, whose objective was, of course, to take over our country, take the land, and really enslave us. And it was upon the events that preceded the wars of resistance that culminated in what normally can be regarded as war crimes. When you have a German general proclaiming openly that he will not even save women and children, the Herreros must leave German territory. And then this was followed not only by the suffering and people dying when trying to cross the Kalahari Desert into the Botswana Protectorate, but also there were those that eventually surrendered were in concentration camps where they were forced to do slave labor. You know, right here where we are, there was a camp, a concentration camp. It was the same in Swakopmund, not to talk of the very shameful events on Shark Island. So masses of people died, and it was accepted, it was an order to order people to leave their own country, or any country, is in today's terms called ethnic cleansing. And this was official, done officially, by an order issued by von Trotta on the 2nd of October against the Herreros at Ovambuda Vindimba. This was followed by a Kaiser's decree that the Herreros would not own land or cattle. All these are measures to deprive people from having means of survival. This is obviously also regarded as one of the serious crimes. And this is what happened. This is when we talk about genocide. Genocide is when you kill with intent. And the purposes that I've stated were not just a fight against or suppressing a resistance, but it was followed by a declaration to actually try and wipe us out. That's genocide. As a matter of fact, when it comes to genocide, this issue was first raised by the late paramount chief of the Herero, Dr. Kwaima Rirwako, may his soul rest in eternal peace, when the German Chancellor Helmut Kohl visited this country. That's when he raised the issue that look at where we are, and this was caused by Germany. We need to have reparation, we need something to be done to redress our situation. It was not taken into consideration at that time, and Rirwako went to an American court, and that case, somehow didn't work because there was an issue of jurisdiction and other matters. But what eventually happened, after committees actually working on this subject were established internally, that the same chief decided, partly in response to the German response, that they would even think of talking about this matter if it was introduced by the government. And it was on the basis of this that the late Chief Kwaima Rirwako introduced a motion in our national parliament in 2006, which was debated, adopted unanimously. Following that, the then President, Head of State, His Excellency, Dr. Pohamba, decided to embark on a quiet diplomacy, wrote to the German government, and finally, it almost took 10 years from 2006 to 2015, when the German government responded, said, okay, we are prepared to now have a dialogue on this matter. We have appointed a special envoy. The government of the Republic of Namibia should appoint a special envoy to start this dialogue. And it was on the basis of this that I was appointed on the 2nd of November last year. No, 2015, not last year.
I also put a few tough questions to him, like why there's so much secrecy around the negotiations. And like a true diplomat, he said,
diplomatic negotiations are not public discussions, number one. And everybody knows that. But in this particular case, there is no case that I'm aware of diplomatic negotiations that has been publicly discussed, on which you have press statements, questions, as you are doing now. You would rarely tell me in history sensitive diplomatic negotiations being a matter of public fora. Okay. And I can tell you, we have gone out on outreach meetings in several places, up to Opuo, Kakarara, Koblenz, Omaodonyanda, Marienthal, Keetmanshoop, everywhere, publicly informing our people through the proper channels. You bring their leaders together, councillors, and the Vice President has also gone to the extent of having a chiefs forum where the chiefs of the affected communities met him periodically for briefing. Do you call that secret?
We are still livid about the stench of corruption that lingers around the whole hiring of UK-based lawyers in preparation of the reparations case. And even Dr. Ngavire didn't want to whiff that. Here's what he said.
What I do know is that we prepared a document, huge document, just announced when we finalized it at the level of a technical committee. And the whole idea was to actually prove and demonstrate what happened and have clear evidence that to be submitted to the German government. In order to do that, the wisdom of the Vice President, who is chairing this Special Cabinet Committee on Genocide, Apology and Reparations, together with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of International Relations, came up with the idea of a technical committee to prepare this kind of information, the kind of questions you asked me, that it had to be done by people who were knowledgeable. So the technical committee established 3 subcommittees. Subcommittee on Research and Documentation, subcommittee on economics, so that when we ask for redress, this can be worked out by specialists. And then there was also a subcommittee on legal matters, so that when we prepare this document, it should be checked, vetted by legal experts. And when this document was finalized, there was the idea that the people we had, quite highly qualified, but not necessarily in international law or in issues that deal with genocide. And it was, there was a need to have a peer review of that document. That's how those lawyers came in. The process that took place, I can't give you the details. The relevant office will give you that information.
The Attorney General, Saki Shangala, has been skitting doof on my request for an interview with him on this matter and repeatedly requested that I wait for him to respond to parliamentarians on this matter before I can get the one-on-one. But some Namibians have been woke. Even Finance Minister Kalesh Letwine has written to the director of the ACC, Paulus Noah, another skilled doofskitter, and called him to order on his reluctance to investigate this squandering of taxpayers' money. Aren't they supposed to be on the same team? Itu. With all due respect, we disagree strongly. While you dismiss public opinion as non-relevant, we believe that as public servants, we need to be responsive to public opinion, and especially so when public funds are wasted. Therefore, we would recommend to vigorously investigate it. So the ACC may be hindered in their ability by the fact that their cases often fester on the Prosecutor General's desk. But at the end of the day, same team mos. So justice, comrades, is going to be very hard to come by. Fortunately, the Action Coalition, dedicated to ensuring we have access to the kind of information required in a supposed democracy, has also called government to task on this matter. Trust me, our voices matter. Check this out.
I think it's reached a point where we cannot ignore this because we can't see that this thing is being resolved satisfactorily. The ACC has closed the case. You saw last week the ACC director, Paulus Noah, confirming that he's basically dropped the case. And then today, in today's newspaper, you see Finance Minister having written to the ACC director and asked him, I mean, what is happening? And this thing is just, I don't think this is something that we can just let slide. This needs to be addressed. We need to know, I mean, given the financial and fiscal condition that the country is in, we need to know, I mean, what exactly this money and how much it actually is, because there are conflicting figures here. What actually this money was spent on. What sort of legal advice did the Namibian taxpayer pay for? It's important to know this. I mean, as citizens, we have to take interest in these things, and we would like people to really talk about this. I mean, there are other things we can do. I mean, this isn't the end of what within our group, as the action group, what we'll be doing. But at this moment, I can't share with you what it is that we are still looking at doing, because there are other things we can do in this regard.